let the record show. And let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, let's start with approval of the agenda. Does anybody have any additions, deletions, or removal items? Nope. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll support.
Do I have a second?
I did.
Second. Oh, no, I'm asking for a motion to approve. Check. This doesn't work.
Try it again.
Okay, I'll just talk loud. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
Now I want a second.
I'll support.
Any discussion?
Just a quick question, and sorry I didn't say it sooner. Will we still have board comments at the end for some issues that might have to be dealt with in future meetings, or?
We could add that if you'd like to.
Yeah.
Add that as item 8A, or we'll
Sure.
make it 9.
Yep.
And we'll make 10 to adjourn.
Thanks.
Board comments is good. Okay. So I need a motion to accept the agenda now as amended.
I move that we accept this agenda as we just amended it.
And a second?
I'll support. Wester will support.
Any discussion? All those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. We'll start with public comments. Anybody from the public? Okay.
You got one out here.
Come, yes, please. Yes, sir. Welcome.
Okay, is this on?
Yeah.
Thank you. Roy McElwain, 3466 Riverside Drive, Saugatuck Township. My comment this afternoon is just to express my support for Lori Babinski. I know it's part of the agenda. You've got to work out salaries. I understand that. Just hopefully keep in mind that looks like you're asking her to wear 2 hats for a while until training is done. She's taking on the clerk administrative duties and will be helping and assisting on the treasurer side. And there's a rumor flying around that she may be paid $10,000 or so less to accommodate the $10,000 that will go to the new clerk as part of his legal responsibilities. So I hope that's addressed this afternoon. Certainly I would hope you wouldn't expect more work out of a young lady like that and for less pay. The other thing I wanted to comment on, I did stop at the office this morning on resident township business. It was something ongoing that I've been trying to get fixed on our street. I was a little disappointed that I didn't see one of the newly elected board members in the office doing any kind of training or assistance. They've got a volunteer member of the planning commission here on his own time helping. You've had to bring in the treasurer, a tax assessor on a day that she normally doesn't work, and also Carol Bombeck. And that was a little disappointing that there was nobody here that really should be covering my ongoing issue as a resident and a taxpayer. So thank you.
Great. Thank you for your comments, sir. Thanks, Roy. Okay. Next. Any other comments? There being none, I'll close that segment of the meeting. Correspondence. We got a letter from Jim Hansen that.
It's page 3.
I'll just go ahead and read it. By the way, Jim is the person who I've designated as my deputy. I've known Jim for a long time and consider him a trusted advisor. Members of the Township Board, unfortunately, due to a previous commitment, I cannot attend your meeting of November 16th, at which you plan to discuss employee matters. However, I wanted to say some things about the choices before you, hence this letter. I've been involved in township matters since 2004 when I was a Chosen to serve on the Planning Commission, I left township employment in 2012 after service as a Planning Commission Chair and Township Trustee. There hasn't been a staffing change this big as long as I have been observing the township. The staffing change would have been significant even without the replacement of 4 out of 5 members of the board, since the zoning administrator had already resigned. It is a difficult situation for you all. Hopefully my suggestions can provide some focus on the decisions you must make now and those you can delay to another day. Our township general government millage was, as of December 2017, 0.422 mils. This is not an expansive millage. Other townships, including some nearby, have higher millages. Increasing a millage, of course, requires a vote of the people who do not vote to expand millages without good cause, in my experience. But with this millage, we have been able to fund quite a good level of customer service for years. Our office is open every weekday, which is not true of some of our neighbor townships. People who need information and services from Saugatuck Township can get them easily. Compensation for the constitutional officers of the township, the clerk, the treasurer, the supervisor, and the 2 trustees is defined. The Township Organization Chart and Job Classification Plan adopted in February 3rd, 2016 outlines the administrative structure, which is another layer distinct from the constitutional layer, though sometimes a particular individual may receive both constitutional and administrative salaries. He lists out here the position and hours: the manager at least 40, the zoning administrator, code enforcement officer at least 16 but less than 40, the secretary at least 16 but less than 40, the treasurer administrator at least 40, the clerk administrator at least 40, the assessor at least 16 but less than 40. Since this outlined structure is supported by the township general government millage, we can afford 168 to 240 hours a week, or 4.2 to 6 full-time equivalents, or FTEs. This is what we have to work with. It might very well be that the hours served by constitutional officials without administrative roles will add to this service level, but no one can count on that. A constitutional official is not required to work any more than it takes to fulfill his or her role. I support John's initiative to spend some time and effort analyzing township activity with an eye to streamlining functions, perhaps with the help of a consultant. But right now, in the middle of this staffing change, the challenge is to keep the doors open and maintain adequate service levels. To me, that means we must, as soon as possible, outline who is to do what with regard to the 2 constitutional officials who usually also have administrative roles, the clerk and the treasurer. John says he wishes to be treasurer administrator as well as the treasurer, and Bill says he wishes only to be the constitutional clerk while entrusting the position of clerk administrator to another person. I say fine, that's great, but if that's what they want to do, these arrangements must be put in place as soon as possible. John must be trained and assume the treasurer administrator role as soon as possible, and the clerk administrator must be recruited if required and named as soon as possible. The reason these steps must happen now or very soon is that you are already short a zoning administrator who must be recruited and hired, and treasurer administrator and or clerk administrator roles are essentially not filled, or we have to wait for the people to get ready to do the job. You risk trying to run a 4 to 6 person office with 2 people. That will not work. If these 2 moves are delayed, it will cause everyone a lot of stress, and that will affect our employees, believe me, who expect and must have the board's support and assistance. After you get past resolving who will do the clerk administrator and treasurer administrator jobs, the recruiting and hiring of a new zoning administrator and township manager is obviously the next step. Chris thinks that there might be synergies in filling these 2 positions with a single candidate with the required experience. You might consider using a third-party vendor like Michigan Township Services in the meantime to help with the zoning administrator role. Around the time the analysis of the township activity that John's been discussing is probably opportune. But right now you need a plan to staff the office over the coming days with sufficient full-time equivalents. Best wishes, Jim Hanson. Next, we'll go on to unfinished business. There is none. And now to new business. Item A, discuss and act upon employee matters. You have seen, I have been presented with a letter of resignation. At this point, if there's no objection, I'll entertain a motion to authorize me to execute that document.
I'll make the motion for Chris to exercise in signing of that document as our legal agent and receive his resignation.
Do I have a second? I'll second. Is there any discussion?
No, I think we should probably bury the hatchet here and quit being negative towards our former manager, wish him well, and get on with a new search for a new manager and put that behind us. Let's stop all the papers writing bad things about people on Facebook and let's get to work.
So as you all saw in the letter from Ron Bolche, at the board meeting, the board should adopt a motion approving the agreement and authorizing its execution. I appreciate John's thoughts on the agreement, and I recommend that the parties approve it and sign it as revised. Any further discussion?
Chris, I received a draft of that, I think yesterday or the day before. I just wanted to clarify that there has been no changes to that letter?
The one that was sent yesterday is correct.
Okay.
I have it right here. There you go.
All right, now interrupt for a second. I would say let's do a roll call vote just to play safe with it.
This is not my resignation letter.
Oh, I have to find that letter. 1 second. Abby wants to see that letter, which she should. You have it?
Okay, I
It's
just
in the board
wanted to-
pack. Yep.
Excuse me, Chris, could you use the mics?
Mine's not working.
It's working, it's working.
Hello, hello, can you hear
Need to
me?
be
A
closer.
little
Better?
bit. Sorry.
Better. Hello?
Gotta be close.
Sorry, close.
Okay. Let's take a minute, let Abby review that. I don't have that letter here. There it is, got it.
Yes, this draft is dated the 14th, so it appears that this is the one I received earlier this week. That satisfies my question.
Any other discussion? Do you want to do this, does anybody care if we do this by roll call, or would you like to do it as a regular vote?
Let's do it by roll call.
I'm fine. It's probably a good idea.
Let's roll call. Rorik,
Yes.
Wester, yes. Bigford,
Yes.
Elmer.
Yes.
I want to call her maiden name Skipper because that's all I remember.
Motion carried.
Thanks.
Very good, thank you. I'll go ahead and execute this document, provide a copy to the clerk. Okay, next on the agenda, discuss statutory and additional duties for elected officials to the township. I'll open up to the clerk and treasurer to start that discussion.
I would like to appoint Lori Babinski as my deputy, and with doing that, we need to put aside the funds to manage that. And I am willing to give up the entire amount that is allotted there, which is approximately $47,000, to be for Lori to perform those functions.
You said deputy.
Correct.
My understanding is that the deputies are not paid, aren't you discussing?
I think you meant deputy and clerk
Were
administrator.
you talking clerk
Deputy and clerk
administrator?
admin, yes.
No, I just wanted to clear that.
Yes, deputy and clerk administrator.
Deputy is not a budget
Thank you.
issue or,
So as Ron outlines in this letter to us, the current township budget calls for the clerk to be paid $10,428. That's your statutory salary by law, cannot be changed. And the clerk administrator to be paid $44,793. Those are the numbers you're talking about.
I thought it was 47. I'll have to look at the budget for last year.
According to Ron's letter, that is what,
Okay, well, that's fine, but I think it's 47, but we can check with the budget. I mean, just the fact that we need the approval for some funds to pay her is the most important part.
the funds for clerk administrator are in the budget.
their budget.
Correct,
Right.
but I don't, the difference is 44 or 47, that's all.
Right, that can be clarified.
It's in the budget.
But I don't,
We can
you're not
clarify that.
requesting additional funding.
No.
No.
The way you It sounded like you were.
No, his number is $3,000 lower than what I thought.
But I think that could be clarified
Yes, that
on
can be.
Monday.
Yes, yeah,
If it's
okay.
in the budget, it's in the budget.
So if you look at our budget, it states right at the bottom with footnote number 1, Department 215, Clerk Administrative 44,793. Is that what I said?
Yep.
Okay. And the elected clerk official 10,428.
Okay.
So what do you want to do with that, Bill?
I want her to get that portion of the budget that's for the clerk, the
Well,
administrative part. I want to make a motion that we have the funds to do that.
then let's make the motion proper. What do you move?
I move that we take the pay from the clerk's position, the administrative part, and transfer it to hire Lori Babinski as administrative clerk.
I'll second. Discussion. Without any further discussion, I'll call a roll call vote.
All right. 1 second. Roy,
Yes.
Bigford,
Yes.
Helmrich,
Yes.
Lester, yes.
Motion carried. So now we have the treasurer position. At this time, I move to allow John to take on the full treasurer administrative position, including benefits associated as were budgeted and approved by the board. And I look for a second.
I will support. Second.
Discussion.
Only thing I would like, and John and I have spoken about this, is just a sort of a, he's transitioning from one job to another, and for him, he won't be here full-time, close to, but not full-time for a couple of weeks, just to give us an idea of when it'll be so we can staff accordingly to cover for it.
Sure.
And I think
We discussed it,
yeah.
that's more than fair. Actually, I wrote down some points. It's not technically a statement, but they're pertinent points. Just to remind you, and by the motion, this is reflected, I did affirm at Tuesday night's board meeting my intention to perform all duties of the elected and administrative township treasurer. 2, as Bill just said, we recognize that I still have contracted work to do for a client in Grand Rapids that I have begun to transition away from. 3, I will endeavor to be in the treasurer's position full-time by Friday, December 14th. Before that, in the meantime, I will be present for observation and training of all aspects of the December tax bill operation. I just put in as a point of reference in the last 5 technical days that I've been treasurer since being sworn in, I've been able to put in 26 hours in this position and will endeavor to do more as the days progress. And let's see, I think that's, you've addressed the healthcare issue, which I appreciate because I was under a deadline myself relative to the
Absolutely.
marketplace, so.
And I understand that it's a unique time and you're employed
Yes.
and you can't just drop everything.
Right.
So I appreciate what you're going to do.
As will they.
And we'll be flexible, and if there's no other discussion, we'll take a roll call vote.
I'm almost there, folks. Bigford,
Yes.
Roy,
Yes.
Helmrich,
Yes.
Lester, yes.
Motion carried. One last item under I guess I'm going to cover under compensation. We were presented a document today from the state of Michigan regarding monetary determination request for information for Bradley C. Rudich. It was filed November 12th. This is basically for unemployment benefits. We have to act on this before the next board meeting, so I need some direction from the board as to what they want me to do. We can contest it or just go ahead and do nothing and it will just go ahead, or we can say, yeah, it's okay. So,
Can I ask a question?
sure.
And some institutional knowledge here. Brad lost an election. There was no disciplinary action taken. He lost an election. So in the past, maybe this goes back too far, but what's the precedent?
To my knowledge, we have never contested unemployment benefits for an employee.
Okay.
To my knowledge.
Right. But again, I don't see why we would, because it was a result of an election.
I don't have a problem with it. I think he performed his duties while he was here. There's nothing really tarnishing on his
Right.
file. Let's just not contest it. That's my,
Do you want to do that by board action?
Can I say something before we move on?
Yeah.
Brad, from what I understand, vacated his office on November 7th, correct?
That's correct.
Was his employment as administrative clerk terminated at that time? Was it officially terminated, reported? Did he resign? Was he?
That is a good question. I do not believe so. If the board would wish, I'll contact our attorney and ask him how we can close that loop, because that is a good point. It should be closed.
Right, I'm glad you brought that up, because I believe, because I saw the payroll records for this week, and I think he got some compensation after the 7th, so. I could be wrong, but let's clarify.
Yeah. Because his employment ended as of the 7th. That is correct. That is a correct statement.
Okay, and if he's requesting, to apply for unemployment benefits, would it behoove us to, just looking for feedback, to ask him to sign, a release as well? Releasing us from claims, and we would release him.
Another good question. Let me get the lawyer on it. If I don't know how quickly we can resolve that, but I can certainly ask Ron Bolche to look into it and suggest a path forward. I'll communicate to all of you that if there's some action taken by the board, we'll call a special meeting to do so, or we can handle it at the December meeting. In the meantime, I think I'm getting the direction, just don't do anything with this. Is that what I'm hearing? Or do we want to contest it?
I consult the attorney.
Let's get, yeah.
Okay.
I don't think that decision would have to be a board vote, but let's get.
I just wanted you to be
let's
involved.
get
I didn't want
Eddie's
you
point.
He's our agent.
I have to do something
We
with
can
it.
direct him as our agent.
Right.
to
I
take
could have
it.
just left it on my desk until the
Right.
24th, but I thought.
No, that's
But on the
fine.
24th, he would receive, if we made no action at that time, he will receive benefits.
That means we're not contesting. So this is only here for the purposes of contesting.
But we may want to get that letter as what is being
Yes.
suggested, so
Yep.
let's ask the attorney.
Okay. Great, thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, discuss and approve funding for temporary resources during transition. I guess my biggest concern is that we're gonna have a big gap on Monday. And taxes have to go out December 1st. I think that,
That's not the date, Monday.
oh, I know, yeah. But in the meantime, taxes have to go out.
What's the gap on Monday?
We don't have a manager anymore. So we
He
don't,
wasn't in yesterday either. But I was here all day.
Right.
And I'll be here Monday.
okay, good enough.
Just ask.
Yeah.
I know it's a short week, it's a challenging week for everybody because of
Okay.
the 3 days. I will definitely be here parts of all 3 days and probably one of the days for the full day.
So
That's my intention.
does anybody think that we need to bring on some temporary resources to help through this transition period until the studies are done and all those things?
Probably.
Okay.
I think that's a good save.
So what I have found in looking at some people who want to help out, Jim Hansen will help out on a pro bono basis.
Right.
On certain Fridays. Pat Phoenix, who was the clerk of Fenville for many years, knows the software very well and has been a big help in Lori getting payroll out, is available for no more than $600 and mileage for whatever she's needed for the near time. Andy Preetz, who is our planning commissioner and PC chair, for $18 an hour, however often he's needed, can and has already today came in and is answering a lot of questions around general questions about our planning and zoning and deferring to Al Ellingson, the actual zoning administrator, when there are specific questions about that need to be made by him. Abby would like to help out, talked about possibly in the $20 an hour, perhaps, depending on what duties there. She could come in a couple days a week. Sherry Mason, who normally works 4 days a week, would work 5 and handle that more through comp time. And Carol, who normally works 2 days, would work 3. That would be kind of a short-term staffing arrangement that needs to be managed. And the question I have is, what do you want to do with that?
That sounds almost overstaffed.
Okay.
Some of this has happened. I know Carol's already increased her time.
Right. Would you feel more comfortable since you'll be in the office in handling this? Because I wouldn't. I mean, if you want to take it, I'd really
Sure.
take it.
No, I'd be happy to.
Then that solves my
I've been
problem.
trying to get, yeah.
That solves my
stuff
problem.
off your plate. First of all, I'll say this is great.
Yep.
I mean, whether it's for pay or for free, the fact that people are stepping up, I've spoken to people. I think it'd be great for Abby to do a day or two in the office anyway, right? To get acclimated to our local government. So I think it's terrific. And again, I was kind of kidding, but I mean, when I looked on the list, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. We only lost 3. So.
Well, so.
And I know it's not full time.
That's right.
But
Jim's
it
like
did
3
strike
days.
me as, oh, wow, now we're gonna maybe be overstaffed. So
Jim's a few days,
I
Pat's
know.
a few
I
days.
understand.
Andy's as needed, but he's gone for
Right.
2 weeks.
Right.
Abby's 2 days. Sherry and Carol are here anyway,
Yeah.
so.
No,
guess it's
think,
understaffed.
yeah, I think the core 3 or 4 of us that are here the most
I agree.
can sit down Monday and work out a schedule.
Bill,
I-
you okay with
Unless
that?
Abby feels,
I guess I'm really okay with what's proposed, especially because it is temporary and we can make changes to it as needed. But it's better, in my mind, to be a little bit overstaffed in this, time of transition and learning than understaffed, so.
I guess, well, I'm not questioning any of these availabilities.
Okay,
And I guess we're not implying a schedule. I mean, we're not, Jim and Pat Phoenix aren't gonna be in here Monday. They're gonna wait till they're called. And I guess what we're saying is, I'm happy to get involved with that, so you don't have to.
that's great.
Okay.
Good.
So, I think we're agreeing in a.
We are agreeing. I just would like, I've had some talk with everybody here, and we have hit the ground running. We've had 3 meetings in 7 days. We're making these decisions rather swiftly. I think we need to take a breath,
Yeah.
and maybe the week after Thanksgiving have a workshop where we don't make any decisions, but we kind of get a schedule Monday through Saturday, who's going to be here, and just we got to slow the process down just a tad. I appreciate everybody was doing, I really do, but so that's what I propose. I'm not proposing meetings, multiple meetings, but I think we need
Yeah,
to have a
that looks good.
workshop just to do it.
I think that looks good.
That was one of my board comments for later.
Like, happy.
Yeah. No, I've been begging since last Wednesday for, just so the audience can appreciate this, we're not allowed to get together and talk and discuss things because of the violation of the Open Meetings Act. We can talk one-on-one, but if there's 2 or more, it's an official board meeting and it has to have an agenda be posted and the public has to be present. So some of these issues have been really hard to talk through because it's almost like a phone tag or a phone tree. So I think that's a great idea. Why don't we aim that at that meeting, I can present feedback on a potential schedule. I also want to say, I mean, for example, I didn't know about Sherry adding days till today, but Sherry's been fantastic. Sherry and Lori have been fantastic to be with and work with in the office, so that's great. And
Good.
I think we can sit down Monday and get a bit of a grid together and know, obviously it's not going to be the same every week because we're not going to need everyone every week, so. I like that idea, and I love the idea of the open meetings, but after Thanksgiving.
Sounds good. Anything else on that topic? If not, we'll go to public comments. Yes, sir?
Roy McElwain again, is that on? Is it on?
Can you hear it?
Yes. Put it close to
It
your
is if you didn't turn it off.
No, I didn't. I started off my public comments at the beginning about Lori Babinski and her work. And if I did my math correctly, you have just given her a $10,400 pay cut. And I want to leave you with that. I hope Lori considers that. She'll be doing more work, not less, in the next few months. She's a valued employee, and you just cut her pay by $10,400. Thank you.
Any other public comments? There being none, let's move on to board comments.
Oh, I had 3, but 2 have already been addressed. And just to reiterate, should we set the workshop date now, or do you want to do that
Well,
Saturday?
if you have your
I brought my
calendar in front of
calendar
you.
on purpose.
And since there's nothing to be decided there or voted on, you can have it during the work day, not at night, so we all like,
Oh, okay.
okay. Something of the nature like at 3 o'clock on any given day that week, I'm good, if it's good with you. But now we have to remember Abby has children, so maybe we can do like 2